Yeah. Some adults that know that you shouldn't have your pants down. Hi.
Yeah.
Come with our pants down. Hey, we'll be right back. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, and this is me, Bradley G, and KC.
What's up? We were talking about fun things to do in the Twin Cities, and apparently there is a mini golf on top of the Walker Arts Building.
Yes, and I keep on getting mixed up. Is the Walker the one over on?
Yes.
By the Sculpture Garden?
Yes.
And the Guthrie is the black one.
The Guthrie is the black building with the endless lock. I remember when they first installed that. I went to one of their first
The reason
shows.
we're talking about this stuff is this right here. This is an event coming up. I'm not telling you when it is because I don't know yet. It's in the works. But that's something for people to do. There's a better, you can take a screenshot of that and get the gist. Look, you can wave. Woohoo! Yeah, they used to have these, I think it was like free Tuesdays or whatever. You go in there, you could say.
Our mics are down.
Oh, I don't have my mic on.
Neither one of us have our mics up right now.
We got so excited we forgot. Check
Yeah.
1, 2.
Check.
Good one, Casey.
Check. Hey, look at that. Our brains work again. So we can put these back up. So if we were a little bit muffled before, we were talking about the events.
Yeah. Eventfully yours, eventually yours.
Yes.
So yeah, there's so many things that are happening in the Twin Cities, and people don't quite understand how they work, because your average consumer that listens to this kind of stuff understands that, oh, it's going to cost me X amount to go because that's what's on their brochure or whatever, and they don't realize that there's other ways of getting things done. And there's discounts for things, and there's perk packages and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see, I used the example of going to a Vikings game. A lot of those things, there's a lot of free seats. You just got to know how to find them for different events and stuff. And especially in the corporate world, for the people on the supplier end of things, you don't necessarily have to sell individual tickets. You can do it in bulk because there's group sales. Mm-hmm. And there's usually a discount on that when you can bring in the masses. And when I was living in California, I was doing that for a comedy club where I'd go out and find groups. And the guy was wondering, how did you get 20 people to come in here? I made one phone call. Now, who was it? Oh, I was talking to my friend Ben Bradford. He was doing some things for a comedy club.
Yeah.
Where you talk to the right person, all of a sudden you fill the room.
Yeah.
And the comedy club didn't want to pay him the commission because they didn't think that it was fair that it was so easy for him.
Yeah.
So it can be done if you're talking to the right person and getting it in alignment. And I'm kind of excited about all of this because I've been out of the event industry when the COVID-y thing happened, and now kind of back in line with it. So let's talk about events.
Sure. We're already talking about events.
There's a lot of different kinds of events. You got corporate events.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the verticals. I'll go through them. Corporate, association, weddings, festivals, concerts, like nonprofit fundraiser type things, and private parties. Did I say concerts? I think I said concerts.
That would fall under entertainment, right?
Yeah, usually.
Because there's more. There's other large
but still,
entertainment
it's an event.
Yeah.
And so just within corporate, the types of events are fun events like this, and it's whether you bring in your employees or your internal management, team building kind of stuff. You go to these game show type of events where they got the blue team and the red team, and it's a team building thing. Mm-hmm. Then there's the client end of things where you're bringing in, your past customers and looking for new customers. So it's right. Client appreciation. And there's the entertainment element of things, and then there's the marketing element of things, the trade shows and the seminars and sales workshops, and then there's awards banquets and client appreciations. There's so many stuff just in the corporate element of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you even take in like a wedding, there's so much stuff involved with that. With the don't they have like practices and stuff for weddings?
They do.
We just did a small one in our house, so we didn't really have any practice. We just did it.
Yeah, they usually do have practice.
Rehearsals.
Yeah, you have to go to the rehearsal so that way everybody knows where to stand, and then they go, okay, now you do this and you do that, and then they all have like a little lunch, and then they go.
Yeah,
home.
they got to cater in some food to make it, worth people's time to come and do all that stuff. And then you got the bridesmaids things, and you got the groom's dinner, and you got after the wedding, you got honeymoons, you got destination weddings where they travel. There's honeymoons where they're traveling year after year for anniversaries, renewal of vows, all that stuff right within the wedding industry. So people don't realize how much stuff there is going on in the event world. Photography, forgot to mention photography. That's a big element.
It's huge. And now videography. Videography is becoming far more popular at those kind of things. Yeah.
My friend Travis Johansson with ProVid Films. I just saw him at the Creative Mornings thing the other day.
I like photography more than videography, but everybody has their own thing. I think you kind of need both. Well, look, with videography, everything moves, and while you can get angles and things like that so you can tell a scene, there is always the ability to be able to elevate it to the level of art, just like you can with photography. But photography, like, because you're capturing a still two-dimensional image, there's a lot of really cool little things that you can do with it to shift and change perspective,
like the contrast and the faded the autofocus background and all
where you put the lighting,
the light,
what your subject matter is, like what you're focusing on, the types of things that you capture. Yeah, it's so fun. Like Elizabeth and I, we were at an event, a big convention, a family reunion, right? And we have a lot of people, and my almost side of the family, it's the Zeman family reunion, so it's huge. And so we were there, and she decided she was going to take some really fun pictures. She was like, you know what, I'm just going to break out the camera. So she takes out her camera and she starts taking pictures of the whole group because we didn't have any photography there. And she's just like, I'm just going to donate this. And she started taking pictures of it all. Well, in the midst of it, she just decided that she wanted to start being super creative. So she started having me chase after our little girl with a remote flash. And I'm following her, and I'm trying to stay like in little secretive little alcoves, right? So it doesn't really look that I'm there. And she's chasing a hen the whole time. She's chasing this chicken. Okay. And she's just enjoying herself. And actually, she won an award for the photos that she got from that. She won several awards, actually. And we're going around, and there's one where I'm like hiding behind a bush, and it looks like the sun, like I'm capturing the sun coming through the bush.
Okay.
And the lighting looks all perfect. And her little girl's looking at the chicken like this, and the little chicken's going.
I can see how that could be more appealing than video, because with video, you got to because it's ongoing, you got to constantly hide. Whereas a still photo, you can get caught hiding.
Right. Well, you can, but on top of that, there's certain expressions, certain moments that humans have that are micro expressions, right? And we have tons of them. We have tons of micro expressions. And if you happen to capture it right at that moment, it's not a look you'll ever get any other time. And yet it looks so much like the person. So you can capture these moments of somebody. And this is what my wife specializes in. You capture those moments, and suddenly, you catch somebody making this like little sly look. Like Brad has a few. And, he gets these little sly looks, and and you just capture one of those, and all of a sudden it's like you get an insight into the person's world, and you go, oh my God, that is so Brad. And you're never going to see that any other time, because most people miss those micro expressions.
Sure. They're sort of subliminal. But
Mhm.
I want to give a little, we'll call it a shout out or a tip, that from a photography purchasing point of view, I did an event, an expo once,
Yeah.
and I brought in a photographer. They were actually more of a wedding photographer, I think.
Mhm.
But I said, what I want is I want a lot of people. I want pictures of a lot of people.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Do you want pictures with a crowd of people? You want it to look like
See,
there's
do
a
you
lot
hear
of people
that?
there.
A crowd of people. Yes, that's good. Well, this photographer thought I just wanted a lot of pictures of a lot of people. So I got a lot of pictures of 2 people, 3 people.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
I wanted crowds so that when people want to buy a booth, they understand there's a lot of people there.
You
And there
want
was
it
a
to
lot of
look
people there, but
crowded.
what she captured was somebody at registration with no line, but just a person at registration, or maybe someone at a booth, an
Yeah.
exhibitor, not a bunch of people at the
That's
booth.
hilarious. I
So,
remember you telling me this story too.
so it's important
funny.
that when you're talking with your videographer and your photographer, that you let them know really what you want. And in Elizabeth's case, you guys ask the right questions
Yes,
to
that was
evoke that kind of stuff.
that was what I was gonna say. If your photographer is not asking you questions whenever you give them direction, they're gonna do it wrong.
Instead,
you need them to ask questions. Even if you're positive they understand, they should ask you a clarifying question. It's just like sales or anything else. If they're not asking you clarifying questions, chances are they actually don't understand.
yeah, yeah, they can't be just asking, so what do you want? Because quite honestly, you don't know what you want. You might know what you want,
Yeah.
but you don't know how to communicate it like I did. I just said I want
Yeah.
pictures of a lot of people, and that's what I got. Is I got
A lot of people did 2 or 3 at a
no,
time.
that didn't work so good. But the fortunate part, it was a trade out.
Yeah.
Because I was in the event industry, a photographer wanted the exposure to the event planners for other events,
Hmm.
but I would not recommend that person. And I guess I just didn't. I put it on myself because I didn't get real clear. I just kind of assumed.
That seems extremely clear to me, though. Like, I want a picture of a lot of people like that. That seems really clear to me. I can see how somebody would get confused. I could see that. However, you can't assume that you were not being clear. Like, that was very clear. It was very clear. It's just that the
No, here's
person needed to clarify. Oh, so by a lot of people, do you mean that you want me to just take pictures of a lot of people, or do you mean that you want to make sure that it looks busy and crowded?
well, this is another example. When I had said that, I was thinking of another situation I had because I have this challenge with communication. I've always had this challenge with communication. That there was another event that I did, and I was basically giving a person a full room. They didn't need the full room, but I
Mhm.
gave them a full room because I had the whole room available, so I just gave it to them. Our understanding was that they were going to use the room for 45 minutes.
Oh.
But what happened through the conversation, I says, you know what, I got this other room. I'm not going to be using it. Just, you can use it, you can do whatever you want with it. That's not what I meant. I still was thinking this is a 45-minute thing.
Oh,
They were
you're
going to
like,
do
I
their
have a
thing.
45-minute window.
Yes, and I didn't need the room, but I wanted them to take their room of people because it was going to be in the lobby, and there wasn't enough room for 100 people in the lobby. So we put
Right.
them in a room, and then after the 45 minutes, they were supposed to go into the expo hall so that my expo looked good. But what it did is it sucked people out of the expo hall into the other
Oh,
room.
yeah.
And that was on me. And Monica says I shouldn't take, I mean, they should have known. But I did say that. I said, here's a room. I'm not using it. Go ahead and do whatever you want with it. My mistake. I should have had a letter of understanding with that. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's where I'm looking.
I can see how that one's a little bit difficult.
Just so you know, I'm looking for someone that wants to work with me on an assistant level like that to go and do this kind of stuff. Because I don't want to sit and type up a letter saying what I want. Here's what you get. Here's what I get.
Yeah.
I'm more of a, hey, we're going to work together and make this thing a success.
Right.
I didn't know that it was going to go one way. And it's behind me. It's not the end. It's going to happen again sometime. It's hard to be clear.
I mean, you know, we get older and wiser all the time.
I get to be a wise guy.
At least older.
More
right?
of a wise guy. I don't feel old. I don't feel old. I feel good. Monica and I walk around the lake on a regular basis.
You probably get more exercise than I do, other than the fact that I chase kids.
You got kids. You're doing some. I'm doing a long
I don't
thing.
I feel very sedentary. Because
you're doing a bunch of sprints.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, get up, run, pick them up by one arm, move them to the other, set them down.
So speaking of that, I want to bring in the concept of family-oriented business-type events that involve the children.
Yeah.
Because I know that sometimes people, oh, I can't go because we couldn't get a babysitter. I just recently had that. No, you guys had that situation.
Yes.
You had a retreat where you had someone set up to take care of the kids, and then they weren't available.
Yep.
So the kids had to participate.
Yep.
So there are things like that. I know that you mentioned Can Wonderland. It's too loud, but kids like that.
No, it's too crowded. I'm not
crowded.
actually worried about the loud, but I have enough children that running after that many children in a crowded environment, it sounds like a recipe for
disaster. You got
to
tie them all together.
Right.
But there are children's events. I mean, you go to the zoo, you go to Children's Museum and the St. Paul Science Museum. Mm-hmm. They're very affordable things. And you can still do them in a businessy type environment, bringing your businessy type people.
As long as it's not crammed in like sardines, you know, it usually works. But if it's like, you know, the Minnesota State Fair, I'm probably not going to do it without having an extra hand or two.
No, but something like the St. Paul Science Museum,
yeah,
or definitely the Children's Museum.
Yep.
Or Valley Fair.
Children's Museum, we do the Children's Museum multiple times a year.
Yeah. So that's some of the people that I want to, they've exhibited with me before, but I got more elements. I would like the Children's Museum to come back and do more businessy, because I can see a lot of corporate meeting planners bringing their family to the Children's Museum to see all the stuff that they've got there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's more than just stuff for kids. There's stuff
there's some cool stuff. Yeah.
And stuff too. Did you see that little microscope thing? You can put it in your ear and all that stuff.
I was not there this last time. I don't know if
it's kind of gross. It's a big microscope on a camera, and you can kind of put it in your ear and go, oh. But kids like that stuff.
Yep, they do. They do. Yeah, they still have that giant car wash.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's like a giant virtual car wash, and you go in there and you get to like spray foamy soap all over the windows and wash the windows, and like,
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool in a way, but I'm hoping that they change that exhibit sooner or later, just because it takes up a lot of space, and I think that there's some other cool things they can do with it.
They might do that. There's also stuff that happens like at the Mall of America. They had that thing of illusions. They had all sorts of different optical illusions at the mall. There's
that's cool. I would be into that one. I love optical
game
illusions.
show battle room. There's paintball type things. You can go on those things.
Yep.
There's a place called Extreme Sandbox down in southern Minnesota where you can drive a bulldozer.
Oh, that's cool. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think kids would get off on that. You don't want the kid driving, but
they have another one at the Mall of America that's it's not paintball. It's not paintball. Is it airsoft maybe? I'm trying to remember what it is. It's either airsoft or like adult laser tag, but it's not for kids. It's actually it's like, I think it's called Urban Tactical or something like that.
There's Urban Adventures. That's no. There's a trampoline park called Urban something.
Oh, Urban Air.
Urban Air.
I like Urban Air. Urban Air is cool. I'm not sure if it's Urban Air. So there's two trampoline parks that I've been to, and both of them are really cool. They actually have a bunch of things for adults too. In fact, there's certain things that you can't actually do unless you're big enough to be able to do it. So there's this thing where they suspend you, like you hook yourself on, and then it literally like sends you around the whole entire place up in the air. And you can't do that unless you're like over a certain height. So my 5-year-old can't do it
Yet.
Well, he might be able to. He grew quite a bit in the last few months. But anyways,
We could probably hook one up in your backyard.
I don't have enough tall structures. I want to, but I only have one big tree. So I don't have enough tall things. But anyhow, so this place is cool. And they also have they also have go-kart track.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So I took my kid there and I bought like the unlimited go-kart track, and it included all the other things, but all we wanted to do the whole entire time was play on the go-karts.
There's a place called Raleigh Raceway.
Oh, cool.
I think it's in Brooklyn Park or something like that, or St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
Mini golf around and about.
I don't know of any like really good mini golf places out here, but I think it's because I was spoiled. I mean, some of the best mini golf places in the entire world are in Southern California. They have amazing mini golf places in Southern California.
Yeah.
There used to be golf and stuff. That place is amazing. And then they have a couple of them as you're heading like down towards San Diego from LA. They have a bunch of them all along the coastline there. Then some of them are hooked up to water parks too. Some of them got featured in like really famous films like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Waterloo. Yeah, that's not really its name, but it was a real park. It was a real adventure park that was that's there. So they have like tons of stuff like that in Southern California. And I miss water parks, going to like serious water parks. So they have like tons and tons and tons of stuff.
They've got some here. They're
outdoor
not really big like that. Like California's got everything all big and stuff, like Texas. But they've got at Bunker Hills, they have a wave pool. So you go in there.
Oh, okay.
It makes waves. Well, a lot of those splash pads have become popular.
Yeah.
They got those for kids.
Yeah, they have splash pads everywhere.
They're going to be building that in Fridley.
Yeah.
Where the 49ers festival is going to be, where I live.
Yeah, that's what I heard, is that there's a new one going in that's
pad.
supposed to be really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of room there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of inexpensive and free things to do. I guess part of what I'm talking about is the strategy behind leveraging these activities so a person can grow their business and increase their business relationship with aligned prospective customers.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. For me, with those horizontal marketplaces where you've got everything from an architect to a veterinarian to a business coach to a person that makes candles.
Well, all those people don't always know how to connect with one another.
They don't, and plus it's hard.
It can be.
If they would define
especially
their
if you're doing it all
clear
yourself.
Ideal prospect, and a lot of this is a whole nother topic we're talking about, but some people don't want to niche themselves down because they have this fear of missing out on all this stuff.
Right.
But if you find your ideal client, that other stuff will just come in and gravitate to it because you got a lot of energy going through.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
Specific clear.
Elizabeth and I started learning all about story branding and the story branding method, and that's actually one of the parts that's important in story branding method. And we started learning a lot about that during COVID. The photography business, of course, hit a wall, and I was out of work during that time frame and had invested pretty heavily into the photography business, and we weren't allowed to be in front of anyone, so it was a problem. So we were like, okay, well, we need a
It's a challenge.
Here, let me take a picture from you from the other side of the street. Here, I get a telephoto lens.
Or with all masks
we were going
on.
to do that. Or with all masks on. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So my wife had a couple of really good ideas. So she ended up finding a clear mask. So she had a clear mask. So while she was wearing a mask, and you could only see a stripe here and a stripe here. Other than that, it was perfectly clear, so you could still see her, so she could see her facial expressions and everything.
Sure.
That worked out really well. So she used that at certain points. But anyways, I'm getting off topic.
Back on the topic.
Back onto the topic. So I was saying story branding. So my wife and I, whenever we got into branding at that time frame, it's because we were mastering things like story branding, and we were going through how, because we were talking about micro expressions earlier. This is something that I've studied since I was a young kid. Like I tell people this like all the time, and people don't always believe me. I picked up a huge, thick book on the psychology of normal whenever I was 9. And it's a huge,
because that's abnormal.
huge book. And I was like, oh, this sounds really, really fascinating. And I read it. And it led me on a trek of reading about microexpressions and how colors affect our mood and all kinds of things like that. And so my wife and I, we've applied that to sales and various different things throughout our lives. And so we started putting that into branding. And one of the big things that we found that people miss a lot of times is that they don't know how to talk to their prospective customers. It's huge. Like, there's so many people that really don't understand how to communicate with their prospective customers in a clear and concise manner. And when they start communicating it, they're all over the map. So nobody really knows what they do because they're all over the map.
Do you think, let's this is an interesting topic. And first I want to tell a little story about my friend Alan Forrest, that's a photographer, and he went into the niche of the Hmong weddings.
Yeah, you told me a little bit about him. Yeah.
So there's a good example of you
Niching in.
plant your seed in the right garden, you're okay. But as an example of something like that, what if someone is doing what they love as far as a profession because they just really like it?
Yeah.
It's in their soul.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just really passionate about it. Do you think that the prospective buyer might buy from them just because of the aligned passion and energy? Even though the person doesn't understand what they're saying, the prospect might figure it out and want to buy from them because the alignment is so there with their passion.
I mean, considering that my oma, right? It's grandmother in Dutch for anybody who's wondering that. My oma ended up marrying her second husband, right? So that was my step grandfather, right? They didn't even speak the same language, which is hilarious because my oma speaks 5. At the time, she spoke 5 languages. She now speaks 7 languages. But at the time, she spoke 5 languages, and not one of them was a language that they had in common. So both of them were learning English. They didn't really know English very well. And no, my oma knew English at that point. Yes, she was fluent in English, but he knew Spanish. It was Spanish that he spoke, and then he spoke something else. I don't remember what it was, but they didn't share the language in common. So they ended up having this big, passionate, like meet up, and then ended up getting married and didn't speak the same language. So yes, I think sharing passion can absolutely get.
Well, see, that's where I think in the sales process, and I'm going to kind of segue or move this back into the event industry kind of thing. That if a person can get to an event, say you love golf, you go to Top Golf, you bring the kids because maybe they can do that. I'm not sure how young they can go, but say for example you're there and you've got your older children, and it's just passionate about what you're doing, you're having fun. Yeah, there's a higher probability of doing business.
There is,
in my opinion. So I think that can happen instead of if someone is not in alignment and they give you all the benefits and this is the price, and say you've got the money and the price is right. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it because I don't like you.
And in short-term relationships, this is another thing that a lot of people don't understand, and because I've run into this several times here in Minnesota. Short-term relationships do not buy you loyalty. You have to have long-term relationships. So like there's this whole thing where there's this buy-in of creating the relationship, but the relationship, if it's just a short-term relationship, maybe you or the other person doesn't actually know what things all align yet. So you can't get mad at somebody because, that person seems to take a slightly different road, especially if you're not having open communication with them. It's those long-term relationships. Those long-term relationships are what really buys that loyalty. Once you have a long relationship with somebody and you've been working with them for a long time and they like you and they know what you do and they respect what you do, you now are becoming an authority on that in their mind.
Okay, that's that's another good point, because very few people get married on the first date.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in this
Unless
thing,
it's an arranged marriage.
yeah, then you're forced and happily ever after. Well, maybe not. But in this event concept that I'm doing, you have multiple opportunities to see the same person again. Say, for example, we're out and we do Top Golf with the adults, and then we do a thing at the Children's Museum, and you go, hey, Steve, I haven't seen you. I saw you at that last thing. Oh, these are your kids? Now you're building this relationship. And the next time it might be without the kids and you're at a happy hour over at Crooner's.
Yep.
That's going to build that relationship. It takes some time to build that business relationship. It isn't about the brochure and all the bullets on your benefit package.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Like it's a challenge. It's really a challenge in order for people who haven't, say, worked in the event industry or in sales for a long portion of their, adult career, to figure out how a lot of this works. I mean, for those of us who've been in like high-end sales or like you in the event industry, things like that, we understand that relationships matter. We understand that going out there and meeting somebody does not necessarily mean that it's going to align this time, but that means that it's going to, you continue to put your foot forward because it's going to align sometime. And once it aligns, and once you start going down that road, and once it starts to align, the other person starts to not only see your value, they start to see how they can utilize you more and more often. Because most people watching this show going back, right, they realize they know a lot about a lot of different things. But really the thing that comes up over and over again is the fact that I know a lot about psychedelics, right? And Brad, thing that comes up a lot is that he knows a lot about magic and a lot about events, right? And so that sort of thing keeps coming up. But as you get to know the person, you start to realize that their skills are wide.
Mm-hmm.
So they start to have a lot more skills, and there's a lot more ways that people can align. And you can't always invest in those relationships yourself. So investing in somebody who wants to invest in you is actually huge. So getting somebody like Brad, who's really good at connecting people, right? Or like my wife, or myself, that are really good at helping people come together and really good at connecting people. That sort of thing, like getting those kind of people in your corner, that sort of thing ends up paying for itself. It's worth its weight in gold. And that's really the best way to put it. Because if you don't have the time to go out there and network 8 hours a day and still run your business, then you need somebody like us. It's that simple.
Well, I think a lot of times people, especially on the social media stuff, they are looking for numbers. I've got 50,000 followers, or, my group has, 30,000 friends.
Great. And if you're selling patches or you're selling like pencils that say,
maybe,
look at me.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that might work.
It might. Because even so, if they're selling pencils and patches, I don't know if I trust you.
But if you're selling yourself, and this is what I mean by that, if you're selling a skill set that you have, or you're selling a business where you're actually going and doing something, that's not 50,000 followers isn't really going to translate to business.
This just came into my head. I'd like to warn people about some stuff in the event industry. When someone's doing a big event, oftentimes you'll start getting solicitations to buy the list of the people.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually not the producer that's selling the list. It's somebody else they're very good at making it look like they're the list broker for it. Yeah. And I just recently saw a thing that came up for a craft fair.
Yeah.
They're doing these craft fairs at multiple places. And I looked into their email address, and their email address was something about my2024project.com. And what I do when I see an email address, I will back it out and I'll take just the domain. Yeah. I'll go see what the website looks like. Sometimes there is no website. They're parking it at GoDaddy to be able to have an email address.
Yeah.
And I wonder, is this person doing these events, is there even an event happening at this venue?
Right.
Or are they just creating this thing and people are going to start walking in? I'm here to set up. They're going, set up what? We're not having nothing going on here. And you just got them paying your $300-400 to this person that wants to put up a vendor table to somebody in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Sorry, Sri Lanka. Or even in, I don't know, frickin' Linden Hills or something.
It goes to the Nigerian prince.
That's right. Let's help the Nigerian prince.
The Nigerian prince who has to move around.
But the scamming stuff, you have to be careful about that stuff and make sure, because sometimes you see these people and they don't have their face on the thing. It's just a Facebook page or a LinkedIn group. And who's the admin for it? It's somebody that's not even, I've seen it before. There's like Twin Cities crafters events and the person is there. When you find the person, they're in Dallas.
Yeah.
Why are they doing a Minnesota crafters thing?
Right.
Granted, there are legitimate ones, but it's so easy to have someone create a fake identity, and
That's true.
and it's easy for you to just start pouring your stuff into a PayPal account, and then they just, after the event, they just, even a couple days before the event, they just cancel it all. And now it's like, where'd my money go? And here I am with my big banquet table. I want to set up my little tchotchke. Where can I set up? And they go, there is no event happening here today. We're just drinking beer. So be careful.
Yep. It's true. It's true. You have to be pretty careful. Yeah, that's one of the thing about knowing somebody, like, actually knowing the person, going out, seeing them, you actually have a long-term relationship with them. It's far less likely you're going to get scammed.
Yeah.
Far less likely. And there's a lot of scams out there.
There are con artists that are good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I hung out with a guy for 10, 15 years and he's got about $5,000 of mine. I don't know where he is now. So it can happen in physical reality too, but
15 years over $5,000, huh? Wow.
yeah.
That's not a friend you need.
No.
Just $5,000?
It was probably more than that, but it was well, I don't want to get into it.
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying wow. 15 years, that's a long con.
Well, some people are that way.
Yeah.
And like a con artist is basically a convincing artist, which is a good salesperson.
Yep.
So if you can convince someone to, we're all going to go out to dinner and everybody put your stuff on there and you put your cash down and then I'm going to use my credit card and pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not really a con, but it kind of is, because the possibility is there's probably maybe more money on the table than was actually given to the waiter and waitress. Was necessary, more money than that was necessary. A good example is if everybody's tipping 20% and you pay 20% for the tip, but some people were paying 50%.
Yeah.
That goes in the pocket of the con man.
Yeah, interesting.
There's other things like, say, for example, you got 2 tickets to the Super Bowl. You want to go? Here's the price. They charge you for it. Now, this isn't really wrong, but what if they got them for free? Then they sold them to you. It's kind of not right. We're friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Why are you selling me these tickets when you got them for nothing? Why couldn't we just go and hang out?
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes people do that shit.
Yeah, that's kind of in the... That one's like very much in the gray area, but if it's your friend and they're charging you for it, that's definitely not right.
Yeah, I would just put them somewhere else and sell them to a non-friend. But hey, we should go to the concert. I got tickets.
Yeah.
They're only $30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's
Lots
a series
of things like that.
Let's go to the concert. I got free tickets. No, I got tickets. They're only $30. And the one more sentence is, they were free. You didn't tell me that. Anyways, what else? Where are we at?
I don't know. Where are we at?
11:40.
11:40.
We do this for an hour. You can do it on 2 times speed and it'd be half an hour for you. I do a lot of that.
I do too. Whenever I'm watching things that are long, yeah, I speed them up and I just kind of watch what's going on.
So let's see. We talk about
We're talking about events,
corporate stuff, wedding stuff.
We talked a little bit about branding,
festivals,
and events, and target market, and how all those things.
On the way over here, this is sort of off topic, but I'm going to weave it into what the thing that I'm developing. Mm-hmm. I believe that since the pandemic, a lot of people have realized that they don't need a job. Mm-hmm. They can get a part-time job, drive some Uber, deliver some pizzas, and be fine. Mm-hmm. And then they could do a little TikTok thing and start selling, like you said, little badges and stickers.
Yeah.
On Etsy or whatever.
Yeah.
And make $30,000.
Right.
They could do that. Well, I've got that with this going on. It's got a little QR code on the back, and you see that? You probably can't see it. I'll have to show you. See, I'm not going to let you scan it though.
You have a button for it, I think, don't you?
A what?
A little button so you can pop it up on the screen.
Oh, you mean this thing right here? This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it doesn't have the QR code.
Oh, okay. I thought you might have the QR code up there too.
No, I don't want the QR code because.
Got it.
Because what it is the ability to earn a commission by telling people about stuff.
Yep.
So say, for example, the Rolling Stones are coming to the Minneapolis Convention or the Xcel Energy Center.
Yep.
What if there was an opportunity to sell those tickets and make a percentage off it?
Yep.
And somebody was a hustler and they went out and they got the job done and sold tickets to the Stones.
Yep.
So there's ways to do this stuff in the event world because people want to put butts in seats, or they want to sell exhibit spaces, or they want to sell sponsorships. The system that I put together has all that kind of stuff in it. And it's not having to go to the Facebook platform or TikTok store, what do they call them, TikTok shop.
TikTok shop, yep.
It's not done through that. It's through the software that I'm using called Kartra. So nice. I've got that stuff. And I think that on the way over here, I saw a billboard. I might have to go back to it because I can't remember what it was, but it was a thing about earning money shopping from or selling from home. Mm-hmm. So I'm imagining that there might be a lot of stores that are looking to get traffic. It's expensive to pay advertising on like billboards and TV and radio and all that traditional stuff. Whereas if you can do a commission only situation where it's results-based pay, you don't pay anything unless somebody actually walks through the door and buys a ticket.
Right. Yep. I used to do commission only doing car sales back in the day. That's
a higher ticket.
They don't do that anymore.
That's a higher ticket product. Some do.
Yeah.
Depends on what it is.
Here in Minnesota, it's not as common anymore. It's usually they do like flat rates.
But what's happened though is those bigger companies aren't doing that, but some are.
Yeah.
They're using this thing called the affiliate model. And just so you know, the affiliate model is not multi-level marketing or network marketing. It's really no different than an insurance agency or brokerage.
Yeah.
Or a real estate agent and brokerage.
Yeah.
Or in your case, I guess maybe even, don't the car dealers do that? They got dealerships and then they got salespeople, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's salespeople back in the day were basically seen as independent agents.
That's why they're such hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're coming out and stalking you on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's really so the way that it worked back in the day was basically you were a salesperson on the floor, and then you would have what's called the up, right, which is the new people who are walking in on the floor, and they would come in, and that was great for all the new salespeople, and it was basically kind of random, right? And if you were a good salesperson, your close ratio was higher, but it still was kind of trashy because a lot of people coming in are just coming in to look. Right. Mm-hmm. So you would get, like every so many customers, you would get them, and then you would have to read them really quickly and move everything along in a way that, optimizes your chance of sale, but it also was optimizing your time. And then if you were a good salesperson, you build a portfolio of people who like you.
Right. I was just
going to say. And as you were building that portfolio, hopefully those guys have come in, because if they come in, they ask for you, and it's only you that can get them.
And that is the building the relationship, and like what you and your wife do with the personal branding thing.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you might pose the picture on their business card, sort of like the real estate agents always had their pictures on their business cards, because it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
So someone says, thinking about getting a new car. Oh, you got to go talk to Casey over at Toyota.
Mm-hmm. I
know him. He'll take care of you. And now you're getting referrals from stuff. So it's all about relationships again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it when the guys are on a Sunday and I don't know who it is. I went there on a Sunday because they're closed and I just want to look at the cars.
Yeah.
I don't want some guy walking up, hey, can I help you? No, don't wanna.
Yeah, that's always rough. Like for salespeople, that's specifically rough because, like I said, there's like ups, it goes on a rotation. So when you walk in the lot and you were somebody else's up and you're like, hey, I don't wanna, and you tell them no, that was their up. They're like basically
So they got to go to the back of the line.
And they go to the back of the line. So if you won't talk to them and you don't even give them a chance to even talk to you, they basically lost their chance to do anything. And now they go to the back of the line.
Yep, they go grab coffee.
And it's considered to be their fault because, you know, they didn't come up with an excuse that you would need them. Like you have to come up with a valid reason on why you would want to talk to me.
Now he's making me feel bad that I said no.
No, I don't think anybody should feel bad. It's just the way the industry is set up.
I get it.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, I don't like sales. Sales to me, you got to be cut from a certain piece of cloth to be that way. To me, I don't like sales because I put a really good opportunity in front of somebody and they have questions and I'm going, why are you asking these questions? This is a good opportunity.
What I enjoyed was technical sales. So usually the cold caller or the, you know, grunt salesperson has already vetted it and they're already interested. So it's a warm lead at that point. That's the kind of sales that I like. I don't like all the cold calling and everything.
No.
But once it's a warm lead and it comes in, like that's what I liked because now I already know the person's kind of interested. And I also like, I like retail sales too. Like I did furniture sales and car sales and things like that. If somebody's coming on the lot, if they're coming in that door, then they obviously are interested in something, right? They're going to be interested in
the vacuum is going.
Yep, that vacuum is going. I'm just going to pause it.
Oh, you're going to pause it?
Yep.
I'm going to lift up the cord.
It just has to load first. There we go.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyways, that kind of sales was always fun because I know if they're coming in there, if they're walking in, then they're always dealing with things. But my favorite kind of sales was always more high-end sales, like technical sales or things like that, where I'm dealing with deals that are, you know, greater than $20,000 and they're buying, you know, like a bunch of cable or they're buying, you know, like, you know, one of my favorite jobs I ever had was I did fiber networking. So I sold fiber networking products and you end up dealing with some large deals. There was one that was what was it, $12.4 million that I ended up dealing on.
And you got 20%?
That was great. Oh, there's a long story there. There is a long story on how that one ended up. But yeah. In theory you get commission. It's not 20%, but yeah, in theory you get commission off of those things whenever especially if you're working for a corporate environment. There's a lot of ways that things get paid out, but there's also when they have to pay out commissions on things that are that high, sometimes those corporate businesses are reluctant to do it, so they try to figure out a way out of it.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was, those are just like, they're really fun jobs, but that's where it comes in back into relationships, right? So relationships are everything in those.
Well, it takes time. And that's why I like the concept of, you get a community of people, or should we call it a community?
Yeah. Why not?
You get a group, a circle of like-minded people.
A community is people who you commune with.
And then they decide to start maybe doing some business, and the relationship starts, and it's part of life. You have fun doing it. I would have a hard time hitting the phone with the cold calls, developing a relationship, and then going home. And then you come back and you got to redo all this stuff, and you're not really building a relationship.
Right.
It's almost like trying to heat something up, like the magnifying glass, trying with the sun, trying to burn the paper. You're just about to reach, and you're starting to burn and make it hot, and then all of a sudden you got to go home.
Yeah.
You come back next day and you just start doing it.
Or the cloud gets in the way.
Cloud gets in the way.
Oh, damn it. Yeah. You got to wait for the cloud to move, and then you can start again.
What I'm looking to build is a community of people that want to just go out and have fun at fun things and go, let's go golfing, let's go mini golfing, let's go to a concert, let's go to a picnic, let's go do this, that, and the other thing, have some fun, enjoy our lives. Mm-hmm. And then eventually this stuff, the relationship will grow. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. So speaking of that, with the event industry, you got people that plan events and the people that supply events. So all those facilities like Topgolf and the go-karts and the paintball and all that stuff, those are suppliers. And it might be a planner that's doing a wedding or a corporate event, and they make that connection. Yeah. The third element to this is businesses that are event marketers, where they know how to use a live event to market their products or services. Like your wife Elizabeth was doing that because she was doing the boudoir photography. Did I say that right? Boudoir? French. I almost choked. She was doing the boudoir stuff, and that's females. So she was doing women's related events here to establish those clients. Yep. So that's the third element of businesses. Like an example would be with your business of the microshift and the psychedelics and stuff. That's coming of age, where people are starting to realize that it's not an LSD trip. Right. It's possible to utilize micro doses of these psychedelics to help you resolve hidden traumas. Yeah. So doing an event where you get that kind of person involved in the same room, now you've got a higher probability of getting clients because you've got a room full of people that are slightly traumatic. You probably don't want a high traumatic situation where everybody's fighting with each other, but more of a subtle kind of thing. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting very quickly whenever you're dealing with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it can, because let's talk about that a little bit. How much time we got? We got another, it's 11:53. There's people that are doing drugs in the name of medical marijuana. Yes, I would agree. But there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I've got glaucoma, I've got this, but really it's just an excuse to smoke a lot of pot. Yes, there's a lot of people that are addicted to that behavior. I don't need to tell anybody an excuse. I just tell them I smoke pot. Yeah, but the reason they need to do that is because they feel guilty about a hidden issue that's below consciousness, actual consciousness is sort of subconscious, and they need to get that thing healed up. That's why they're lying about this stuff. Right. So I would like to find people that realize that this stuff can help you. It isn't a matter of masking stuff. And like alcohol, I'm not an advocate. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to microdose, and especially with things like, LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, can they be utilized at like some kind of rave or party or something else, and you can have fun? Well, sure. You can also have a lot of not fun by doing that. So it's not what I wouldn't have definitely not recommend doing it that way. But going to what you were saying, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Like when you do that, you're not going to hide or mask your problems. It's actually going to bring some of those things to the surface, and it's going to make you come face to face with them, and it's going to hopefully help you deal with it. So most people I know, it helps them deal with it. So something like that, say for example, because in Casey's situation, there's people that they'd look at that stuff like, that's a drug. You're not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff. It's, but it's not that way. I just recently went down to Costa Rica and did an experience like that. It was a very good experience. So there's ways of people like Casey that want to run their business that's legitimately trying to help people, of doing an event. What if the event was people that may be open to this kind of stuff, and it's more of a like a sound healing event where they're the woo-woo type people that want to do healing. Now you're doing this event. It's not something like a trampoline park or Top Golf or something like that, but it's more of maybe what are them pan drums called? They make those cool sounds.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have one.
A concert.
It's right over there.
A concert like that. And then there's that woman that does the crystal bowls.
Yep.
The sound bath stuff.
Yep.
That would be, and as long as people understand that this is a healing of traumatic situations, that would be a good place for you to be, to get potential clients out of that.
Yeah. That is a good market.
So that's an event marketing tactic, strategy, or whatever, instead of just going out to the grocery store going, hey, I help people with psychedelic drugs. You want to hire me? And they go, who the hell are you?
Right. Yeah, they would probably look at me like that too. They're like, oh, you're trying to sell drugs. Okay, go away.
Yeah, you got to
I'm like, nope. I just help people. That is all I do. I'm not a drug dealer. I only consult.
Yes, I did a session with Casey, and it was a long process. And quite honestly, you don't even notice that something's happening.
Right. And that's the best way to have it, is you don't really notice what's happening until you suddenly get good results. So you yourself had some really good results. I had a client that just finished his. He was working with me, and he wanted to deal with some self-confidence issues. And as he's going through it, what he found is that by the end of it, he wasn't nervous whenever he was taking drives to places he wasn't familiar with anymore. And typically he would be, and he actually, during the process twice, he actually made a mistake thinking that something was going on a date where it wasn't, and then drove 45 minutes to go to the event, and then realized that it wasn't going on and went, oh, no big deal. And then just got back in the car and turned around, whereas normally it would have freaked him out, and he would have been like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to any of these events. I'm canceling it, because, going somewhere new was very nerve-wracking for him.
Right. Yeah, you get to a place of don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all small stuff. And you realize that's not that big a deal. Because I've had situations like that early on, and I'm way laid back now. But I used to get upset when someone didn't show up for an appointment. It's not the end of the world, You can all of a sudden go, oh, the person's not showing up, but there's still other people here I can observe, and I can have my coffee, or maybe I can go wander around or something, and it just happens. Chill out.
Yeah, it's really, it's quite fascinating how it works, though, going back to the microdosing. Like, you had a couple of pretty profound effects that you didn't even really notice were going on until you went back and you looked at your journal, and you kind of just like sat with it and you thought about it for a little while, and you were like, oh, well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, you don't notice them until you notice them.
Yeah. Like what was one of them that you would mention?
I started remembering things a little better.
Yeah.
My memory. Because you had me doing the learning a language thing, which requires memory, and the card game thing, where it stimulates the memory.
Yep.
And you don't notice it until you notice it, because it's a very subtle kind of situation.
Yeah, and I always do a stack with people. So I did a stack for Brad. I basically, at least I always do a stack. I say we always do a stack for people. Yeah, what I mean by that is that's how I do it. Like a lot of places, if you talk to them about microdosing, they're like, oh, well, here's your microdose. And then they kind of leave it at that, and you're left like wondering like how to utilize it, what type of protocol you should do, like all that kind of stuff.
For those that don't know, sometimes people get into their thing because the lingo they use, a stack, is common to them. So they just say it's a stack. You don't know what a stack is until you get a stack.
That's true.
It's a stack of little boxes that help you through the week so you don't get screwed up and go, oh, did I take this? Did I take that? It's all in order, and you arrange it. It's all set up. If you can go from one spot to another, step 1 to step 2 to step 3, step 4, and if you know that Tuesday comes after Monday, and Monday was right after Sunday, you can figure that part out.
All you need
I think
to do is
it
follow
even has the dates.
calendar.
Doesn't it have the days on it?
It has the days of the week,
Yeah.
and then it has 6 slots for that day. So basically, you just go from left to right, top to bottom, and then you have Monday,
reading a book.
and then you take out Monday, and you take your first one, and then you just keep going till you're done, and you'll utilize all 6 days on all 7 of the of the little cubes, all the 7 days of the week, right? And by the end of that, your 6 weeks is done, and then your regimen is done. And I do it with all kinds of different things, like depending on what the person needs, like lion's mane, burdock root, all kinds of different things, manuka honey. It just all depends on what the person needs. I specialize in taking all of the information and putting it into a regimen for somebody that includes herbs and everything that are safe. Because I check if you have any medical conditions, I always check to see if there's any medical conditions that would be counter to what we're trying to do. And if you have that, then obviously we're going to have a longer discussion about things and figure out if medical needs to be involved or anything like that to find good recommendations. But that's something that I do. I go and I research all that material for you, and then you end up with a regimen that's specifically for you. So in MagicBrad's case, I know he was having some problems with memory. So since Brad has been having a little bit of skips in his memory lately, I was like, hey, why don't we focus on that? So I included a lot of memory items in his stack. So as he's taking it, he was noticing his memory was improving. His, hopefully he was noticing that his tactileness was improving a little bit because I was including things in there to help with the what they call the tap test, which basically just measures how quickly and how tactile you are with your fingers. So, yeah, that's something he utilizes a lot. But it was awesome. It worked out great.
Yes. You don't know you're doing it until you've done it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to sign this off. And by the way, anybody that is interested, I'm looking for people that are interested in partnering up with the thing that I'm creating. And you don't necessarily have to be in the Twin Cities, but you should. And this is how to get a hold of me. That's my phone number right there. Dun, dun, dun. Things can be done remote. So that's my story, Morning Glory. We did it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Another one in the can.
See you next week.
Peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice.